everyone. Welcome to the most bullish channel you're going to find on YouTube right now. I think we have the investment opportunity of a decade and maybe of a century and certainly possibly of a lifetime. These come across every 10 to 20 years, and I've been around for a while and I've seen it happen many times. To give you an idea of how many times, do you remember the crash of 1973? I do. I remember when the Dow was at 1,000. I remember in the early 80s wondering if the Dow would ever hit 4,000. It's now around 36,000. The changes are massive, but we have a big change coming upon us that is unlike anything we've seen before. And that includes the internet. People are saying it's bigger than the internet because it will affect virtually everything. And that is artificial intelligence, AI. And it is being adopted quicker. And it is different from when the internet came about. The internet, we got very enthused, from 1995 to 2000 because the internet was coming. Man, it was coming on strong, and we could see what was going to happen. The only problem was it took 12 years for it to fully develop, okay? Artificial intelligence isn't taking that long. Its growth is exponential. It's going to crash into our lives and hopefully uplift us, and hopefully we can put safeguards on it so we don't have to worry about that. So there's just a big possibility here. I'm investing in artificial intelligence stock. I'm going to go over the four major ones I'm doing right now, and I plan to invest more. Meanwhile, we have this dynamic of the Fed is likely to cut rates, and we're going to go into the reasons for that. We've got lots of excitement coming up. We have to get ready for the coming bull run. It's upon us, and we need to take advantage of it. The bulls are running wild, and I think it's going to get more intense as we get inflation numbers coming in on December 12th. I think they're likely to be good, and they're only going to improve in December, I believe, because gas prices, oil prices have come down so significantly and are in the 70s and sometimes going into the 60s. We've got deflation coming at us. This reminds me of 1995, around there. 1995 to 2000, what happened? The internet was coming on and the Fed was cutting rates. We have the likelihood of the Fed cutting rates sometime in 2024. It'll probably be delayed. It probably will be the fall. But the anticipation of it has already lowered the long-term rates. So we have that coming on. And artificial intelligence is just growing so significantly. And I'm so excited to share with you the four companies that I'm investing in. On Friday, we got Goldilocks employment numbers, okay? It didn't look like it was Goldilocks to begin with, but what always happens, virtually almost always happens, is they release the numbers and people react immediately to the numbers because everybody has a number in their mind about if it goes above this or it goes below that, this is what I'm going to do. And you have to do that because that's what's going to happen right off the bat. I decided I was going to wait a little bit into it, and the numbers dropped right away simply because the number was higher than expected. It was 199,000 jobs added when only 190,000 were expected. Okay, so it's like, oh no, it's too bullish. The Federal Reserve is going to raise rates. Okay, so the market immediately went down. Okay, but like most past jobs reports, that number is seriously flawed, and it's going to be revised, and it'll be revised a month from now when nobody cares about it anymore because you have to react to the number that you're given. Okay. But the reason the number was high is because the United Auto Workers strike ended That inflated it by about 30,000. And also the motion picture industry strikes ended, and that added about another 17,000. And then we found out that the October number, which was 150,000, which was kind of a low number, was actually, they reported it too high. They revised it down 35,000 jobs. So when you take all of that into account, the real number, and God knows they do these seasonal adjustments, and I think that's done mostly for political purposes to pump up the current administration, and all administrations do this, Republican and Democrat. It's just kind of par for the course. But the number virtually always should probably be worse than what's being reported. Okay, so we got 199,000. I think it helped a little bit that it wasn't quite over 200,000, but then we have all these factors that inflated it, and then the October number was reduced down by 35,000. I think the real number was somewhere between 150 to 170,000, which was my idea of a Goldilocks number. And Wall Street analyzed these numbers, analyzed all the ins and outs, and I think they came to the same conclusion, and the market started taking off, and the more the realization set in that this is a Goldilocks number, the more the market went up. And I typically day trade TQQQ, which is the triple leverage fund on the 100 largest companies on the NASDAQ. And I usually just day trade it. But man, I left it on for the weekend because we're in for a bull run here, which could be magnified by Wednesday. By Wednesday's news, Tuesday's news for sure, the 12th and the 13th, I think the inflation numbers are going to come in at least okay, and I don't think there's any chance they're going to raise the interest rates on December 13th. So I think we're in the clear. I think we got the likelihood of rates being cut, and we got the Federal Reserve on pause. This will be the 5th time they pause, and the Federal Reserve has never re-engaged raising rates after pausing 5 times. I think that's a virtual certainty, at least in my mind. And the artificial intelligence story just keeps growing, keeps magnifying. And we have people saying that it's bigger than the internet. It's more developed than the internet. You know, you already have established industries. Back when the internet was coming on, we didn't really have established industries. We had concepts and theories that were trying to be implemented. It's just totally different, and it's being implemented much faster. Also, the unemployment rate dropped from 3.9% to 3.7%. Now, they said later in the day that, well, you know, it was 3.74% if you rounded to the nearest hundredth. So it wasn't quite as good as it looked. But, you know, at some point, good news is good news. It's hard to be too depressed about the situation when your unemployment numbers are going down. At the very least, a recession is nowhere in the forecast. Not anytime soon, not within the next 6 months, anyway. My favorite stock right now, and one of the most undervalued stocks, technology-wise, is Nvidia, the engine of artificial intelligence. And it's going for $475 right now. Its value is near $600, about $595 to be exact. Its price to earnings is only 25, and its earnings growth rate is 45%, which is outstanding. And they've had a rough patch. Looking at the chart, they were punished for just wonderful earnings. I don't know how wonderful they expected the earnings to be, but they were wonderful, and they're going to keep being wonderful. And this is a stock, I think this is like buying Apple 20 years ago, only it's going to do about twice as good, at least, than Apple did. So I think it's the opportunity. When you look at that week-long chart, you can see that it's finally regained its footing, and it's headed for over 500, and I think we're headed for 600. I'm also invested in AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, which it's second to Nvidia in making artificial intelligence chips. Nvidia has about 90% of the market. AMD has about 10% of the market. AMD is good at playing second fiddle. They played second fiddle behind Intel for years during the 80s and 90s. So it's a role familiar to them. They're trading at about $128, and their value is about $46, okay? Their earnings growth rate is like 3%, and their price to earnings is like 35. So it's not as good, but there's lots of excitement because they have a good CEO. And I guess she's related in a distant way to the CEO of Nvidia. So I guess it runs in the family or something. But anyway, it looks like it's going to be second fiddle, but they came out with new chips that look like they could compete with Nvidia, and they're probably going to offer them at a lower price. And so they will be a good second fiddle, just like they were decades ago. The one thing AMD has going for it, and if you like charts and you're a technical analyst, you love AMD because they have a wonderful chart for the last month. Just take a look at that. Nothing but up, baby. A company that I've traded off and on going back to the 1980s is Broadcom. And how to describe, what does Broadcom do? And the answer is a little bit of most everything technology-wise. They do semiconductor design and manufacture, and they do infrastructure software, whatever that is. And I think they also do some artificial intelligence chips. They always have done a little bit of everything, and they're just a stalwart. And I think a person can rely on this company. I don't think it's going to zoom off the charts, but I think it's going to hang in there and always be a profitable investment. So I can't resist buying it. It's trading in the 900s. Its value is over 1,000. Looking at the chart, you can see that it varies with a tendency to go upward. And I just kind of see this as a stable factor in my portfolio, and I think I'm going to hang on to it. I just love the company. Its earnings growth rate is 18%, and its price to earnings is a very reasonable 20 for an outstanding technology company like this. Broadcom symbol is AVGO. Looking at the chart, you can see it's had kind of a rough month, and that's actually why I bought it. I was looking at things to buy, kind of wanted something artificial intelligence related, and I heard that it hit a low point on Friday morning. And I immediately bought it, and he immediately sprang up. So this is when you have good luck in the stock market, right? One of my favorite all-time stocks is Super Microcomputer, okay? Its symbol is SMCI, and they do lots of artificial intelligence things, but the main thing is probably their artificial intelligence servers. And its price right now is $272, and its value is $462. Its price to earnings is only 16, and its earnings growth rate is 33%. but its chart for the last month absolutely sucks. As you look at the chart, it's more or less just consolidating for the last month. And that usually means it's going to break one way or the other, okay? I'm guessing that it's going to break upwards, but you might want to just keep a watch on it and see which way it starts to break for certain. This is what I'm doing. Best of luck to you. Do your research and get your advice from wherever you can, from solid sources. I think there's lots of solid people saying that the artificial intelligence boom is going to be more significant than the internet. And that is hard for me to imagine, but hey, I've seen lots of unimaginable things happen in my lifetime. So that's the way I roll. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe the video if it's been helpful, and comment and tell me where I've been led astray. I don't think I'm leading you astray. I think the bears have been leading us astray. It's just like the story of Goldilocks and the three bears. Eventually, I think Goldilocks gets it just right, and I think for right now, we have it just right, and we have this artificial intelligence boom that's going to carry us forward. Thank you.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare.